My ex Mil insults me over my job and my body. This is a long rant, so sorry in advance for how long this is. I'm pissed and just need to vent. My ex-husband, Bill, and I chose to end our marriage amicably. There was no cheating or anything like that. There was just too much stress due to some issues that happened. Feel free to read my previous posts on my profile for that debacle, and we both decided that it was for the best. I seem to be a magnet for insane people. My mother, ex-friend, her mother, Inkels. My life is fucked up sometimes. Both of us were feeling the strain and our mental health was taking hits all the time. We argued a lot, even over the pettiest of reasons. Our eldest son, Brandon, was being affected by it. We had stopped going to couples therapy and weren't even sleeping together as much as we used to. I would often sleep in bed and he would sleep on the couch in his office. Bill knew what he was getting into, but he decided after our youngest was born that he couldn't deal with it like he thought. After talking about it and trying to come up with solutions, we chose to end our marriage. It hurt and broke our eldest son's heart, but we agreed to stay friends, and so far it has been working out fine. He's still in our lives, has a room for our kids at his place, and takes our eldest to school every morning and visits a couple of days out of the week. He and I have lunch twice a week to talk about the kids and keep each other updated. We're a divorce court judge's wet dream. It was the best decision we made. At least I thought so. I moved me and the boys into a 2-bedroom apartment and I am working full-time as a bartender at a gentleman's club. I love my job. I've only been there a few weeks and I am making good money. Close to $1,000 a week just in wages and tips. So with alimony and child support, we're sitting pretty. I am trying to lose weight so I can become a dancer at the club. I'm doing the keto diet and going to the gym regularly. I'm shedding the pounds I want to lose, and I am already down a dress size. I have always struggled with my weight. I was never overweight, but not exactly skinny. I am white, but I have what some call a ghetto booty. The women in my family always had big hips and big boobs and big thighs. I am also using a waist trainer to help with my figure and posture. I do my hair and makeup and go to work looking and feeling like a movie star. I have long dark hair and green eyes. I started getting spray tans when we moved to this city and I have fallen in love with it. I feel good about myself for the first time in years and I am an ever-evolving work in progress. I am what you would consider to be a mutt as I have a lot of different cultures in my bloodline. Mostly German. I have to brag here that even Bill turns his head whenever I walk into the room and tells me he regrets not having me in bed whenever he wants. I admit it, I get a little satisfaction from that. I used to dress super frumpy and didn't bother much beyond a shower and brushing my teeth. I also want to add that I never attended college. Bill is tall with a deep olive complexion with jet black hair he keeps slicked back, a full beard he keeps short and large golden brown eyes. He dresses well. He has an ass that makes me drool. He has always been in good shape and since our move here, he has gone to the gym to stay fit. He is full-blooded Greek as his parents immigrated to the US right after they got married. His father found success in real estate while his mother maintained the family home. They lived in wealthy comfort in a massive house in Connecticut until they moved to my old state. Their home in my old state is just as massive and considered a mansion. It's on an old plantation that they turned into a beautiful estate. Bill went to college and got his bachelor's and quickly got an internship at his current career, which he makes 6 figures at. Maybe I'm biased, but he is the perfect man, at least on the surface. Needless to say, I was nowhere in my ex-husband's league, but his family welcomed me with open arms. They were the family I always dreamed of having. The opposite of my family in every way. I love them so much and called my in-laws mom and dad. We always got along and talked almost daily. Mil often sent me recipes of Greek dishes for me to learn how to cook for Bill, because he loved it. We often went to a little Greek bistro as a family, and I make it a point to have our eldest try stuff from Bill's country. You can imagine my surprise when my Mil called me to chastise me about the divorce. She said that if I had been a better wife and lover, Bill would have stayed with me. She said that divorcing him twice was just too great a sin to forgive and I needed to find God and pray for forgiveness for my wicked ways. I reminded her that Bill cheated on me to cause the first divorce and broke things off with me for the second one. I don't know where this was coming from, but she needs to have this talk with her son. She blew up at me saying my new job is tempting sin and that it was the devil's playground and my body would be soiled for her son and he wouldn't want to be with a woman like me. I reminded her that Bill and I divorced and she said I chased him away. She said every picture she received from us since I began bettering myself weren't worth going into her albums because I looked like a whore in them. I got upset and told her it wasn't my looks that were the problem. It was her son's decision and it was all of the stress from the situation with Karen and my mother that caused it. She said Bill told her that was just one reason and said I wasn't the beautiful, demure woman he married anymore and didn't want to be with a whore. A fucking whore. I started to cry, in disbelief MIL would be so mean to me after she had been so kind to me all of these years. It blindsided me. The club I work at is not a typical strip club. It is a gentleman's club and caters to the higher elite of my city's society. Our prices are not cheap. The dancers are only allowed to show their breasts during private dances. They have to keep their lingerie on while working the poles. I know that isn't standard, but a lot of the dancers prefer it that way. Private parts have to be covered at all times regardless. There is no touching allowed and a distance of 6 feet is heavily enforced by our bouncers for private dances due to COVID. Lap dances are no longer allowed due to a SA that happened long before I started working there. I know the story and I can share it another time. The stage is protected by a wide barrier that maintains a comfortable 6 feet distance between the dancers and the spectators. My boss is all about safety and doesn't take shit from anyone, even the customers that think their money is their get-out-jail-free card to treat the dancers and bartenders as they please. He has thrown out several people since I started working there. One man was demanding I show him my tits and to pour liquor on them so he could lick it off. My boss hurled his drunk ass out of the club like a sack of potatoes. Go boss man. He invested millions into the club. He is a good man that provides for his family. His wife is one of our dancers and she is a certified 10, even after having 3 kids. She and I have become good friends and she is giving me tips on how to get in better shape. I adore her. I guess I can understand why MIL would have reservations about my job, but it was no excuse for her to treat me that way. I hung up on her and called Bill and asked him to come over. As soon as he walked in, I confronted him about what his mother said. He assured me that it wasn't true and that he didn't know why MIL said those things. I asked him if he was bitter because of my job and that I had been bettering myself. He said no and that he was happy for me. He called his mother and put her on speakerphone and asked her why she was so cruel to me. MIL got upset, feeling ganged up on, admitted it was a lie but was only looking out for Bill. Bill sighed and said it wasn't appropriate to speak to me like that and said that he was the one who wanted the divorce, not me. He reminded her of all of the hell I had gone through, to which she said that I brought that into their lives. I snapped and reminded her that she brought Karen into my life, who put me and my family through hell for the last fucking year. She began crying. Bill looked guilty, like he wanted to apologize for making his mother cry, but he said she should apologize to me for being unkind and holding my past against me. She went silent, then hung up. I went to work that night and had a miserable shift. I have horrible butterfingers when I am overly stressed or upset, and I broke several bottles of alcohol that night. My boss gave me crap about it and I felt so awful inside that I barely managed to hold it together. He called me to his office after my shift and asked what was up. I explained the situation to him and he apologized. I did tell them about my past so he and his wife understand why I get like I do sometimes. Certain things trigger me, I can't help it. He said it was okay and not to worry about it. He gave me the following night off and said to take a day for myself to calm down. I cried myself to sleep when I got home. Bill came over the next day with flowers and took me to lunch. He said he spoke to FIL. Phil told him that the divorce had been hard for Mil too, and she couldn't stand thinking that her son could be the cause of both divorces and was in complete denial about it, so she pointed the blame at me, using my job as her justification to be so nasty. No way her wonderful son that she raised so well could have strayed so far. Phil did express his disappointment in Bill for taking the easy way out and divorcing me, believing that any couple can overcome their problems with time and healing, but he wasn't going to push the issue. Mil did apologize eventually after talking with Bill. She said she was just frustrated and didn't want to admit or accept that he did anything wrong and assumed I was just trying to make him jealous of other men because of my job and my self-improvement, and she didn't mean anything she said. I told him I needed some time. She didn't apologize to me directly but through Bill, so I don't know if her apology was genuine or if it was to appease him. After thinking about it a while, I decided to forgive her, sort of, but things won't be as they were. Only Bill will now be in charge of sending photos and keeping her updated about the kids, and I asked him not to discuss me at all. Not even to say I am doing fine. If she calls me, I won't be picking up. This is the first just no behavior out of her that I have experienced. She welcomed me with open arms into the family, embraced my eldest son and claims him as her grandchild, and was always kind to me, never once judging me for my past until now. I don't know what to think or why she decided to be like this. I know people sometimes deserve second chances, but I would rather not give them the option to prove me wrong. So I'll be going no contact with her for a while. He took me home after that. Bill came over to talk to me last night about Mil, and I said I didn't want to discuss it anymore. I made my decision and that I would be sticking to it until I felt ready to talk to her. Bill thinks I'm overreacting and being unreasonable. He said I needed to be more understanding that she is a Catholic that believes divorce is a sin. He acknowledges that it is his fault for the divorce though. Both of them, but he added that I could have made more of an effort to be emotionally invested in our marriage. He then went on to say my job is a problem for her and maybe I should consider looking at something else to make her happy. I saw red. I got pissed and told him to pound sand. My job makes me happy and that is all that matters. I don't care if Mil has a problem with it. I don't care if he does either. It's my life. He chose to leave. Not me. I won't be told what to do by anyone. My job provides for me and my kids and keeps a roof over our heads. I reminded him that his alimony and child support, while appreciated, isn't needed and I can manage alone without his help, even with 2 fucking kids. I won't apologize for my job. I also won't apologize for bettering myself and finally finding the self-confidence I didn't know I had. And I won't apologize for his fucking mistakes, first the cheating, then deciding his wife's trauma was too much of a stressor on his fragile existence. I won't roll over for anyone ever again. I then said that I'm not his fucking wife anymore, so he and his mother don't get a say in what I do. I then told him to get the fuck out. I won't let people walk all over me anymore. Not even Bill. I don't know if I am overreacting, but I don't think I am. This man came into my life and took me and my son into his family. He adopted my eldest as his own and rescued him when he was kidnapped by my psycho-fucking mother. We had a child together. I found out he was cheating on me for an entire year with some shameless bitch at his job, and I took him back and married him for the second time after forgiving him. Then his mother brings another psycho into my life and I am the one having to deal with it. I had my body picked apart and ridiculed. My privacy was violated, I was threatened and my marriage was tested, but he blames me for the breakdown on our marriage because I wasn't emotionally invested enough. I did the damn best I could. I worked hard, maintained the house, and took care of our kids. I never asked for anything for myself and always put him and my kids before me. But I am to blame? Yeah. Fuck that. I don't owe anyone shit. Update. Ugh. Just ugh, fam, ugh. I was not expecting to update as I hoped today would be a fresh start for me and my kids. Unfortunately, this day couldn't be over fast enough. My ex Mil has truly lost her mind. She wants to take my baby with her and XFIL to fucking Greece for a year without me. I took my kids to my therapy session today and we broke the news to my eldest son, Brandon. He was understandably upset, but he understood. I was honest to a point. I told him Bill had decided not to be a part of our lives anymore and that it would just be me, him and his baby brother from now on. It is the truth, but I left out the cheating part. Brandon knows about the first time Bill cheated on me and that hurt him pretty badly. I'll tell him the truth when he is older. We discussed my ex-in-laws as well, and my therapist said that based on what she understands of the situation, seeing them might be counterproductive, but ultimately left the choice up to me. Brandon decided he didn't want to see them, and in truth, neither did I, but I did decide to meet with them with my youngest. I dropped Brandon off at my friend's house and went to meet with my ex-in-laws at the bistro as I wasn't comfortable with them knowing where I live. They fawned over the baby, who was all smiles and giggles. I ordered food and just sat quietly to eat while they spent the time with him. XMIL cried that my son was the spitting image of his father, and I shifted uncomfortably but forced a smile and nodded my head. Not once did they ask about Brandon. I told them that I didn't mind them being in my kids' lives, but there would have to be boundaries set in place. I laid out my terms, which were very reasonable. They can do Zoom calls and we can visit for Christmas, provided I have the money to make the trip. I will not be told how to dress or how to live my life by them or anyone else. My lifestyle and my job are my business, and they will not interfere anymore. I also do not accept religion in my life, and I do not want my children being indoctrinated. If at any point my children decide they want to accept religion, it is their decision and no one will make it for them. I will also not be told what to do with my kids as they are mine and I am their mother. That is it. My terms are non-negotiable. They did not like this, and they both began to argue. I told them I won't accept anything other than them agreeing to my terms, and if not, they will never see us again. I will initiate no contact permanently. XFIL agreed, but XMIL began to cry and pray. I told her to stop, because that crap doesn't work on me anymore. I will not be manipulated into submitting to her will. I am not her dancing monkey to order around to dance at her command. She went stone silent, and after some prodding from XFIL, she nodded, then looked at my son, who had fallen asleep in her arms. She then smiled like she was up to something. She got to talking about how great it would be if they took my son to Greece with them on their trip. The family would love him and he would fit in perfectly there. No one would know he is half white. His hair is so dark, just like Bill's. He would love it there. My sisters will adore him. I went as still as a rock, and the smile on XMIL's face told me all I needed to know. She looked at me and said, "We're going to Greece for a year to be with family there. My sisters haven't seen us for a long time and I want to introduce, baby, to them. You shouldn't mind. It is our home country after all. He should be introduced to our culture. We'll bring him back. A year isn't that long." She was talking about it like she was trying to sell me a vacation. It may be their home country, but it isn't mine. My jaw hit the floor. The fucking audacity. I'm paraphrasing here, but I said, absolutely not. Not only is it inappropriate to even suggest taking my son away from me, his mother, for a whole fucking year overseas, it is severing the bond that I have with him. He won't know who I am in a year. I would be a complete stranger to him. You also want to take him away from his older brother who loves him to death. You are crazy if you think I would ever entertain such a crazy idea. XMIL went total cat but faced and glared at me. XFIL sighed and looked at his wife. You can't expect her to agree to something like that. Would you agree to it if it were your son? XMIL snapped and said she did lose her son. And I said, so your solution is to steal mine? She then went quiet for a while and looked like she had a moment of clarity. She then looked at my son again and I saw actual tears, which surprised me. She then said that she was so heartbroken over Bill that losing him was like losing a piece of herself and my son is all she has left of him. She apologized and promised she would honor my wishes. She said she loves us, but has a hard time letting go. Bill has shattered her spirit, and she thought my son could be how she heals from the heartbreak. I told her that she has every reason to be upset with Bill and that none of this is her fault, but she needs help because religion is not the fix for every problem. It's only giving her temporary relief as she keeps her head buried in the sand to avoid facing her problems. Sometimes you have to stop using it as a crutch and dealing with your issues head on. I told her I can't go back to living on someone else's terms. I am still in therapy dealing with the trauma of my past, and it isn't fair to impose her will on me, even if she believes it is for my own good. She did ask if the trauma of my past is what led to me being a stripper. I told her I wasn't currently a stripper. I am a bartender, but I will be switching to dancing once I am at a weight I feel comfortable with. Dancers make way more money than bartenders do. As her son has decided to fuck off and leave me with 2 kids to take care of alone, I'll do whatever it takes to provide for them. I then told her my past trauma is my own burden to bear and I will not let it ruin me as it has others. It is why I am in therapy. My therapist knows about my desire to become a dancer and has not discouraged me from pursuing it. I told her that any extra money I make is going into my kids' college funds, so they won't have to struggle as I did. She actually appreciated that and said she would back off, even if she doesn't agree with it. I told her that was fine and I understood her concerns. We then talked about Bill. They admitted that they likely won't cut him off permanently, but they are apprehensive and decided they needed time and told him not to call them for a while, even though it breaks their hearts to do it. He wasn't happy, but ultimately, he said he would honor their wishes. They lamented over where they went wrong with him. I told them it wasn't their fault. Bill is a grown-ass man who makes his own decisions. He decided to throw his life away, and all he has now is that woman who will likely leave him if word gets out about what he's done. Considering my one friend is such a blabbermouth, I don't think it will take very long. We talked about Greece and XMIL sisters. They will be gone for a year as one of XMIL's sisters has cancer and doesn't have long left, and all of this drama with Bill has left them feeling emotionally drained. I think the time away from the US will do them some good. Especially XMIL. We agreed on weekly Zoom calls, exchanged hugs, then I returned home with both of my sons after picking Brandon up. All in all, despite XMIL's temporary insanity, I'm happy with how the meeting went. Finally I can breathe. Peace at fucking last.